Greetings, chummer. We have got to stop meeting like this. Unfortunately, the season finale for season 2 was also lost to the birds. So, without much further ado, I give you the recap for season 2, episode 40, 10.06 meters per atmos. From his position just above the water, Arthur signals Merlin to let her know that they've reached their destination. Not wanting to bring the entire team out of the warehouse just yet, the Neon Knights err on the side of stealth and take a moment to surveil the rig. Arthur sends Excalibur out as a drone to scan the map of the area before piecing together a plan. Step 1. Create a distraction. Step 2. Have Percy sneak her way into the complex. Step 3. Acquire disguises. Step 4. Find the elevator down. Arthur's first instinct was to mark the Satyr-Krupp helicopter and use that to distract the bodyguards. However, after his sprite comes back damaged and empty-handed, he elects to take control of the crane instead. Using the crane, Arthur jostles 2 large shipping containers, causing several researchers to stumble and one to fall into the ocean. This commotion provides the perfect smokescreen for Percy to sneak through the complex and find the laundry room. The laundry room itself is covered in dust, as if the majority of the top-level buildings on the oil rig are just for display. Mercifully, she is able to find a box filled with an array of different uniforms, including a Penumbra suit jacket, SCP and Atlantean Foundation lab coats, a security officer uniform, and a D-class prisoner jumpsuit. Merlin shuttles everyone out of the warehouse and into the laundry room before they change into their disguises. Pausing at the door, Arthur turns to the group and gives them a warning about the nature of the SCP organization and their dangerous anomalies. Percy suggests that the group stay in pairs in case anything happens as they cross the top level and descend a flight of stairs. The elevator itself was easy enough to find, and the Neon Knights pile in. The cab descends through a clear, flexible tube down toward the sub-oceanic facility. Arthur reacts as the AI greets the party, fumbling through old SCP credentials to try and gain access to a map. He is vexed to find that his profile has been marked as deceased. Lance jokingly suggests that he try using his long-lost twin's ID instead. Arthur thanks Lance for the idea as he plugs in his older brother's credentials and gains access. The party exchanges furtive glances at this revelation and wait in uneasy silence for the elevator to stop. Once at the bottom, the Knights are met by an off-duty security officer named Doug, who is quickly shooed away by Merlin, who poses as a Penumbra employee. Arthur drops a location marker at the elevator as the group makes their way into the labyrinth-like halls of the SCP Facility to search for more evidence of the birds. Just to the right, they find a cell containing 2 D-class prisoners and a pile of boxes containing robot bird scraps. Merlin grabs some evidence before leading the party into a waiting room occupied by a friendly but forgetful SCP aptly named Mr. Forgetful. Arthur quickly ushers the group away and into a second reception area that contains a series of check-in logs. Percy scans the list for Lydia, the subject of one of Willington's bounties, and finds that she's currently checked in as security and junior researcher for the Atlantean Foundation. Continuing down the hall, the group reaches a junction. Hearing footsteps approaching from ahead, Arthur takes Boblin and ducks into an SCP containment room. Percy darts around the corner as another researcher approaches Merlin and Lance. The researcher initially mistakes Merlin for Vivian, but then realizes his error as Merlin fails to convince him that she's taking Lance to a testing room. Trying to salvage the situation, Merlin uses her magic to influence him to check the containment room where Arthur is hiding. Once his back is turned, Lance attempts to knock him unconscious, but overdoes it. Inside, Arthur and Boblin have befriended a safe-rated SCP named Mr. Fish and invite him to join them on their adventure. Percy suggests that they steal the deceased researcher's coat, tablet, and credentials before leaving him in containment and continuing down the hall. On their route, the group ducks into another room with SCP The King to avoid a different group of researchers. Arthur uses the tablet to gain basic info on the different SCPs, realizes that this one cannibalizes anyone it finds boring, and quickly leads the group to a safer location. Along the way, they find a room with a portal that leads to a miracle cure pill. The Knights linger a bit too long as they consider whether or not it's worth the risk to try and steal one for Boblin and Gwaine. Merlin advises that they circle back to it on their way out and continues making a path forward. The hall deposits them in front of a decontamination room. Percy suggests that they send Boblin and Mr. Fish into the warehouse so that they don't set off any alarms in decon. Satisfied with this solution, the group complies and proceeds to go through the decontamination procedures. Eventually, they dry off and change into the hazmat suits before stepping out on the opposite side. Immediately on the other side of the doors, the Neon Knights, veiled by their hazmat suits, come face to face with Vivian from Penumbra and several other Atlantean personnel. Percy is shocked to see the familiar faces of Delicarium and Shay on the AR meeting display, while Vivian cheerfully greets them as Task Force Zeta Epsilon Resplendent. And that brings us to the end of Season 2. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey, and be sure to tune in on Twitch Tuesdays at the Nat 20 Show for any current content. Expect to see Season 3 coming up sooner rather than later, hopefully. But until then, always remember, never forget, the birds work for the bourgeoisie.